Welcome. This is Wayne County Connection, and I'm your host, Michael Sweigart. Thanks for joining us as we promote Wayne County as a great place to work, live, and play. You know, we do that by connecting you, our viewers, with our guests and the agencies that they represent that are doing their part to make Wayne County a great place to work, live, and play. But that only happens if we make the connection. And so we encourage you to visit our website at waynet.org/cc, where you can learn more about today's program and past programs, and also where you can learn how to share this with people who are not in the community or who may have missed the program during its regular airing times, because the program is available on demand. We're really appreciative of that. You can follow WayneNet and WCTV, Whitewater Community Television, on social media to find out more about this program and about other programs that are available on the 3 channels here of our excellent community cable broadcast system. We thank you for watching, and we want to encourage you as we think about fall here right now and getting into September. It's amazing that we are already a month into school already, and the universities are starting up, and that brings us to mind that we need to be careful of the students who are walking now, that are out and about more in those before school and after school periods, and to be careful and watch those as you're traveling to and from work and your other business, to be careful of those students. And that brings us to our topic today. We're going to be talking about buses, because buses are an interesting topic with schools, and Wayne County has an interesting history with buses. And later we're going to be talking about bus safety. So we encourage you to stay tuned for the whole program. And thanks for joining us. Our guest today, our first guest today, is Sue King. She is the archivist at Morrison Reeves Library. And Sue, welcome to the program.
All right, thanks for having me.
Hey, we like to make the connection to get started. And so for those of our viewers who may not recognize you or know you, this is Sue King, and tell us a little bit about yourself and your connection with Wayne County.
Well, I have been the archivist at Morrison Reeves Library for going on 20 years now. I didn't grow up in Richmond, but I kind of feel like Richmond's my home now. I think I'm going to stay as long as they'll have me. But the library is just a fantastic place, and it's a wonderful asset for Wayne County. We've got lots of stuff going on all the time, and I've been asked to say that September is library card sign-up month. So if you don't have a card already, come in and see what we can do. And also, we have reciprocal borrowing privileges as well. So if you live in the other parts of the county, you can get a Morrison Reeves card as well, as long as you're in good standing with your home library as well. So there's that. You know, summer reading is over, and our youth services area is starting up story times next month, and then just the regular stuff that's going on at the library all the time. You can check out ebooks. That's kind of new. We've got computer classes, book a librarian if you've got a question or an issue that takes more time than usual. We've just got all kinds of stuff going on. And any of that information is available on our website. We're on social media, all those things. So.
Right, so the library is a great place not just to go read a book. My grandfather used to go to the library every day and read the newspaper.
Absolutely,
and
we still have that as well.
Great time to get out and so forth, but it's also a great resource for students at any level.
Absolutely.
And whether you're officially still in school or whether maybe you're an older adult who's just looking to learn some new skill. And so
always lifelong learning.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And so it's a great place to go.
Absolutely.
Well, as an archivist, your primary focus is on the archive or the history.
Yes.
And there's some really interesting connection, as I mentioned a minute ago, in Wayne County with buses. And people may or may not be familiar with the Wayne Works and the Wayne Works buses. But Wayne Works was bigger than that. So let's talk a little bit about what Wayne Works was and how it started and so forth.
Well, most of the time people remember Wayne Works as the school bus factory, and it certainly was. And for most of the 20th century, it was a leader in manufacturing buses, and mostly school buses, but they certainly worked on regular commercial buses. But the roots of Wayne Works go all the way back to the earliest days of, well, Wayne County. The company actually started in the 1830s in Dublin, Indiana, so on the far west side of the county.
Right.
And if you think about Wayne County in the 1830s, it was nothing but pretty much farmland. It was even before the canal or even the National Road really hadn't gotten out to Dublin by then. And so really what was needed at that point was just farm equipment. And the earliest factory just made nothing but farm implements. And in fact, the earliest ones were just hand tools. Their business kept growing, and they made more and more, grain drills, reapers, all sorts, anything that farmers in Wayne County would need. By 1875, the big growing city on the east side of the county lured the company over to Richmond. So by 1875, Richmond had the rail center, by that time, 1873 is when we stole the county seat away from Centerville.
Which is another program altogether.
It's another program altogether, and it's a good story. It's a great story.
It is a great story.
But yes, they were still trying to lure even more business to the giant metropolis of Richmond. And so in 1875, they did get the Wayne Works to move from Dublin. The whole factory and most of the employees all moved to Richmond.
Right, because at that time, the commute from Dublin to Richmond took a lot longer than it does even
it really
today.
wouldn't have been a commute. It would have been an all-day affair pretty much. So so everybody pretty much moved over and built a brand new factory. It was a huge factory for those days. And it just kept growing and growing. Larger and larger farm implements as the market grew. That sort of segued into wagons and carts, primarily for farm use, but then even that sort of slid into early automobiles. And so for about, 10 years or so right after the turn of the century, Wayne Works actually produced cars. And little plug for the museum as well, the museum has 2 Richmond cars, one of which was manufactured in 1907, and it's one of the gems that we have. And a couple of months ago,
and when you say museum, you mean the Wayne County Historical Museum?
Yes, the Wayne County Historical Museum. And
North
yes,
Eighth
I'm on the board, so it's a plug for me as well. But we have a 1907 Richmond automobile, and our car guys got that thing running, and they took it down to a huge car show down in Cincinnati in June, and it won Best in Class. So they got a big old trophy, but yeah, it was a 112-year-old automobile that was running.
Correct.
And I know very little about cars, but I know that the guys who do know cars were just drooling over this thing. It's beautiful.
And it's a rare gem as opposed
absolutely.
to one of our other assets here in Wayne County, the Model T Ford Museum, which is ubiquitous internationally. But the Richmond, produced by Wayne Works. At that time, it was still Wayne Agricultural Works, I think.
I think so, yeah. I'm not sure exactly off the top of my head when it actually shifted over. But yes, early on, it was known as Wayne Agricultural Works.
Right.
But yes, they made automobiles. And then right about the same time, I think 1913 was the first time they made what they called the earliest name was a kid hack. And at that point, it was still a horse-drawn vehicle, but it was a wooden wagon that would be used for schools to actually transport kids to school. And it very slowly kept, morphing into larger buses. I can't remember exactly when they made the first motorized one, but it was literally a bus body that was put onto, I think the first one was actually designed to put onto a Model T chassis. But over the course of the next 20 or so years, they just kept getting better and better and putting more and more steel into them until the early 30s, they were all steel bus bodies, and they kept touting the safety features. I mean, they kept putting more and more safety features in them all the time, and they were sturdy. I know some of the ads, they've got a picture of 35 full-grown men on top of the bus to show how sturdy it was.
Right.
So that's what they were really going for, was the safety, because you're transporting your kids. And so, yes.
Right. So it's been in the news this year, especially here in Indiana, about bus safety and so forth. And that's not a new concern.
Right.
The safety of the vehicles, the safety of our children has been a concern, since the beginning of time.
Absolutely.
And Wayne Works kind of capitalized on that as they developed some of the best buses
They did,
in
yes.
the area,
Most definitely.
in the United States.
Right.
They were a great
and that
company.
was a part of almost all of their ads was how safe they are and and sturdy
And
too.
how sturdy, yeah.
They wanted to make sure that they were, going to last for more than a couple of seasons.
Right, because it's an investment for a
Exactly.
school corporation, which school
definitely.
corporations have never been rich.
Right, right.
So
So that technology then too, they, yes, buses were their main bread and butter at that point, but they also were able to make other similar vehicles that would also go onto other chassis. So in the 20s, they made something they called a touring home, and it was basically a camper.
right.
So, maybe, I guess Wayne Works has a little bit of, the pre-
RV boom?
yes, exactly. So very
Sure.
early on. And then during World War II, the Army, we made ambulances, so ambulance bodies. I think
Right.
it was the designation was a WG54, which they listed as a Dodge. So it was a Dodge chassis and motor, but the body
Was a Wayne Works
was
body.
a Wayne Works body, yes.
Was a Wayne Works body.
I want to
So-
say like 30 to 35,000 ambulance bodies that they made during World War II.
That's a lot.
That's a lot,
And
yes.
it's not, and it doesn't even make a drop in the bucket for their bus production over the years.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
right. Well, Sue, thank you for that brief overview of Wayne Works and the foundation of our history here in
Yeah.
Wayne County, and the excellent foundation, as I've talked before. We promote and preserve our past to build our future so that we can have a fantastic show in the future to talk about the past, which is now the present.
Right,
And so
okay.
it's just kind of a thing we build on here. But
Yep.
Sue King is the archivist at Morrison Reeves Library. And if you're interested in history in Wayne County, she's one of the resources.
right.
Like she said, she's also on the board
That's what I
at the
do.
Wayne County Historical
That's
Museum.
right.
Sue, thanks for
All right.
coming to the program today
Glad
and
to have
talking
me.
about
Thanks
Wayne
very
County
much.
history.
Thanks very much.
We'll be right back after this brief break. Welcome back to the program. Thanks for watching. In the second half of our program today, we're going to be talking with Rob Tidrow. Rob, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Michael.
Rob is the Chief Operations Officer at Richmond Community Schools, and today we're going to be talking mostly about bus safety because that's a topic that's on all of our minds as we're starting the school year. But Rob, first of all, there might be one or two people in the community that don't know you and your background, so if we could get just a brief background to make the connection here, that'd be great. Way to start.
Sure. I've been with Richmond Community Schools now for 11 years. I came in on the information technology side. So I was the technology director for several years, and then about 4 years ago was put in charge of operations departments, and that includes technology still, transportation, safety and security, food services, and maintenance and facilities. So we have,
Basically everything that's not direct instruction, it sounds like.
well, I don't do the finance stuff. So,
Oh, okay, yeah. Finances
But,
and instruction.
yeah, very important. So I enjoyed my work there, and the transportation department is something that, of course, we want to make sure all of our students get to and from school in a safe manner. That's our main key point of that every day. So.
So speaking of transportation and buses and getting students to and from school, there are basically, as I think of it, four entities that are kind of involved there. There are the students, obviously, the parents of those students, the bus drivers, a critical part in that
Oh, yes.
whole organization, and then the general public, drivers and so forth, whether they be going to and from the school or just about their regular business. And then the community, the school system, just really has to oversee and kind of coordinate all of those different entities so that, as you said, the students arrive at school and then back home safely.
Correct. We also, as a corporation, 12 or so years ago, outsourced our transportation services. So we use a company called Tidrow, Student Transit. So we have we have a different kind of connection with our with the bus drivers and so forth. They are employed by Tidrow. The management company is Tidrow and so forth. So I'm that liaison. However, they respond immediately to our needs and so forth. And their mission, of course, is to get every kid to and from school, in a safe manner. But we are a little different than a lot of school systems where they hire directly the management person, the drivers and so forth. So a lot of those drivers that are out there were RCS employees at one time during that change. So that transition happened. But we are a little different than a lot of school systems in the state of Indiana. Now, we still own the buses. We still own our bus facility and so forth, but they manage the day-to-day.
So they're the bus management, or bus driver management company really handles the HR side of that and the training as well.
And the
for
training, right.
bus drivers, because
And
that's
so-
kind of a critical element. It's not just somebody you picked up off the street or a parent who was bored in the morning.
Correct.
It's somebody who's been through.
They've gone and they've received their CDL license, and then on top of that, they have to receive a bus driver endorsement, and that's done through our Tidrow company, and make sure they're ready for the road. And it's a job that's a little different than it was, say, maybe 20, 30 years ago, when maybe you had a lot of retirees, afternoon farmers and so forth. This can be a full-time job for many people, which a lot of times they need that. So if anybody's interested, they can contact my office, and we'll put you in touch with them. It's a job that is fulfilling for a lot of people because you are making an impact directly to students.
Right.
Many times you're the first RCS connected person they see in the morning, and the last person when you drop them off. So you can have a big impact on that kid's life. You might also, as a bus driver, maybe see where a student might be having a bad day, or maybe not as good a day as they had yesterday, and they might be able to say, hey, principal, little Jimmy here is maybe having a rough morning, maybe he needs a little bit of attention, so when he gets dropped off, he can have that specialized attention when he gets into school. So.
I rode the bus for a while when I was in school, and bus drivers not only had to manage the route, getting to all the pickups and all the drop-offs, manage the traffic. There's the weather. We could talk
Right.
about that as well. The drivers, who seem to be, at least as far as the news goes, less considerate of bus drivers than they used to be, but also the students and the conflicts and the drama and the activity and the noise level that goes on in a school bus. School buses are not quiet environments, so the bus driver really has a lot of responsibility there for the safety of our
Yes.
children and getting them to and from the schools. So,
And part of that training they receive every year is maybe a conflict resolution, maybe how to de-escalate a situation instead of just maybe snapping at a student, maybe give them options, maybe choices of where to sit, and bring that anger down a little bit less than what it was, because they are transporting a lot of people,
Right.
and those are kids, and they're on the road. And they have a big machine that they're handling, so it can be trying at times. So
Yeah.
the bus drivers do a very good job at managing that, and they go through different kinds of training and reminders of how to maybe make the best out of a situation. Some buses that require it, we do have some bus aides, another adult on the bus to help manage that situation if they arise, and maybe work with different students that need specialized attention. So it is a tough job at times, but like I said, it can be rewarding to those who appreciate that kind of work. So.
right. And sometimes the bus drivers make a big impact on a student, and are, I've even heard graduation speeches where a student mentioned a bus driver, so
Right.
it's kind of an interesting thing. But bus drivers are not the only element in this grand scheme of things. And,
Right.
and you as a school corporation, the school corporation, you as the representative, have a responsibility for the safety of your students, and that also is important to you.
Right.
And so what are some of the steps that Richmond Community Schools and probably other school systems are taking to make sure that students are safe in that bus riding experience?
Well, we first make sure that all the buses pass inspection. They have to be inspected twice a year or so, and after any kind of maybe accident, they have to go through an inspection process. But beyond, the next step would be looking at the routes, making sure that a student's not walking too far. We do have some walking distances requirements. And so we make sure that the students aren't walking in an area that may not be the best place to have students congregate. We don't allow them to walk over US 40, for example. That's a very busy highway.
Right.
Highway 27 is another area we don't let them walk across. Some of your smaller highways that are out in the county, 2 227, for example, they can walk across that. But we look at those best places where they can cross, where we can have the bus stop in a safe zone, get those kids across the lanes and so forth. So those are kind of the areas that we look at for that safety. We go through drills with the students, evacuation drills, first part of the school year and throughout, to make sure if there's something on the bus where they need to get off the bus quickly, that they're trained to do that, kind of like a fire drill inside the school.
Right.
We're always drilling kids on that sort of thing. Same thing happens on the bus. One of the primary things we like to talk about is when those younger kids are received at the bus stop, and that's your kindergartners and first graders.
Okay.
We require an adult or guardian to pick up that student from the bus stop, and we ask them to be right there at the stop. Maybe not in a car or in a house. We want them right to the stop. So when the kid exits the bus, the parent or guardian's there to receive them. If not, and if no one's there to pick them up, we'll call back to the school and return that kid back to the school. And then the school will arrange for that parent to pick up the student from the school. So I mention that because today is also a shortened day, Tuesdays.
Okay.
So every Tuesdays we have training for our teachers at the end of the day. So we release our students about an hour early. And so we like to remind our parents of those kindergarten first graders to be out there for those early release days, as well as the other days. So.
Yeah, but those extra precautions, the extra requirement for the parent to be there for the youngest of the students is really another key in making sure that students get to and from
Correct.
School safely. And then if the parent or guardian can't be there, then you take the responsibility of getting the student safely back to the school and make arrangements for the parents.
Correct.
But it's best for the student, especially, I mean, a bus ride back to school is a long time for a kindergartner.
yeah.
You know, it's kind of
Yeah, we'd rather them be with the parent as soon as possible.
Sure.
It's been a long day for them, especially at the beginning of the school year.
Yeah.
Kindergarten, first graders, they might fall asleep on the bus on the way home because it's a tiring day. It's
Right.
a long day for them. So we want them back in the hands of their parents as soon as possible, or guardians. So
Yeah.
we just ask that they be available at that time to pick them up. So other safety things is we look at stop arm infractions that are out there, or violations. Indiana and across the country, they're really looking at this to slow down those possible problems that could happen when a car or truck passes on the left-hand side when a school bus is stopped.
Right.
When you see that arm out with the red flashing light, as a driver, you must stop for those. We also are
And
working
the best situation, I know that I've seen some debates on social media about, oh, well, you don't have to stop here, you do have to stop here. Best case scenario is if the school bus is stopped and they're flashing
Right.
their lights, stop, right?
Just stop,
I mean,
right.
it's not going to hurt anything.
Yeah.
There are very few things that I can think of that are more important than for the 30
Safety.
seconds it's going to take for you to come to a
Right.
stop and wait
Right.
for those
That's a
students
good point.
to cross safely.
We just look for the safest part,
Yeah.
safest way we can have the kids be in a safe environment and so forth. The bus drivers are instructed if they do see a person passing through the stop arm is to get the license plate number. We're working with and maybe the description of the vehicle. We're working with the local police to maybe help us combat
Because the bus
those hot
drivers don't have
zones.
anything better to do.
Exactly. We're just trying to combat those hot zones. We might see it peer
Yeah.
out, routinely. So
Right.
because it is for the safety of our students,
Right.
and of course the drivers and everything. So
Yeah,
that's
and
something.
there's nothing more annoying than a 45-minute delay because of a small fender bender with a school bus.
That's
because
right, yes.
You don't just drive away and call it in later.
No,
it's forever.
Once it's hit or something, you stop. And
Yeah.
So.
Rob Tidrow is Chief Operations Officer for Richmond Community Schools, and if you have questions about bus safety or anything, you can contact his office. We'll try and get those numbers up, or visit our website at waynet.org/cc. Rob, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Michael.
And thank you for joining us. Again, do your part to get connected to make Wayne County a great place to work, live, and play. Visit our website, waynet.org/cc. Visit the calendar page to find other events that you can get involved with. And make sure that you visit Whitewater Community Television also and support both of them. There are membership opportunities. I'll make a little plug there for both of those organizations. Thank you to our producer, Jane Holman, to the director and staff at Whitewater Community Television. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next month.